Let's create an integration procedure. And name it as rental save records. We can name it anything. And save it. Let's say we are passing everything that we are getting in here. We want to pass it to this. So I'll quickly paste it. Alright, now it is pasted. I'm just making sure that I have this available when I'm configuring DataRaptors. Now the plan is to save a contact record first and then save the rental record later on. So let's add a DataRaptor to save contact. We need to use DataRaptor post action. We don't have any DataRaptor created for it, so let's create one. And name it as rental save contact. It will be of type load save. Configure contact, lock it, go to fields. Now in here it needs an input JSON, and this is the reason we have copied it. I just kept extra copy as well, but we just need renter details in this. So what we'll do is we'll just pass the rental detail node, and this will be the input. We can go in this, paste it, and we need to wrap it in DataRaptor. Now this is the input JSON expected. We are assuming that from the IP we'll be passing this kind of JSON nodes, which will be received by this DataRaptor post action. And the reason we did it is because we can directly get the nodes, and in fact we can remove this as well. Basically we'll directly give these details instead of everything. We'll just pass single node, so it's more easier now, and we can map these like this, or we can quick match as well, auto match, and it will do it for most of the fields. It just DL number is extra. We don't have a field created for this, so either we can create it or try to save it somewhere else. For now, let's use it with account number. I'm sorry, I'll have to look for a field if we have any. I'll quickly create one for this. Meanwhile, we have an additional field for created for this, which is renter, and we always want to make it true. And so what we'll do is we'll give its default value as true, and its output is boolean because we have a checkbox field for this. And for DL number, I'll quickly create one and resume. I've just created a field called DL number, and this is its field name. Now we'll try to look for this. Before that, let's refresh. Go to fields, add DL number and map it to DL number underscore C. Now we can test it as well if it is creating any record, and we can do it from preview. First, let's check if there is any uh, contact with the name test. We don't have any yet. Now let's go to preview section, click on execute, and this just created a new record. We can go in here and try to search again, and you see this new contact popped up. So our contact is getting created. Now we just have to configure the integration procedure to pass only the rental car node instead of everything. Now, in order to do this, we just need renter details, and we can give it in here. So it is to trim the request, specify one node on the data JSON, send in the outgoing request. So basically, if we'll mention this, it will pass details from this node only, and we can verify that by by executing it. We don't have response action configured, that's why we don't see anything, but we can debug it in here, and in input it is only passing the details that was needed. And if we go to contact again, there will be 2 instead of 1 now. Let's see if it got created or not. So in DataRaptor, no bundle is specified. Okay, the reason is because we haven't configured the DataRaptor name in the DataRaptor. We have to give, or we have to refer this rental save contact in DataRaptor interface as well. That's why we were getting that error. But one thing got confirmed, that it is only passing the details that we wanted to pass to this DR. So we'll just configure it maybe some time later, because we do not want to create dummy or the contacts that are not needed at all. Now the next part we are going to configure is to create the rental record as well. Let's rename this as save contact. All right. And let's create another DataRaptor post. And this will be for rental. Let's create another DataRaptor. Again, we need to provide details to it. So first is the object, that is rental. Lock it, go to fields. We have to provide an input JSON. Now in this case, we might need to provide multiple details, because for rental it needs 2-3 things, I guess. Let's check it. So it needs the car ID and a contact ID, which is just getting created. Now in our data, for the selected one, we don't have the car ID, so let's add that as well for the previous integration procedure that we created. And go to DataRaptor extract action, where we are pulling the car details, and add the ID node. and get the ID. And it will have the car ID as well. And this is the updated data JSON that we are going to receive. Okay, for this node selected car details, we can pass this whole node. So I'll copy this and paste it at input JSON. This will be one node, and from the updated one we can add ID as well, since this is just the expected input. So and it is to ease up the process of configuring these fields, we need to update this as well for the ID, and this ID can be mapped to the car field. Yes. So and it needs start date and end date, which will be equal to, we need to pass that as well. If we look into this, we have booking date. I know I have made mistakes in writing spelling some here and there. Let's pass this. So that's why I am not a big fan of writing anything with and. I usually configure anything just once and then keep copy pasting things so that I don't make mistakes further. Alright, so now we have booking date, end date and start date. We can configure that. End date to end date and start date with start date. And we have days as well, number of days, which is date different formula. In booking days, it will save the number of days. And we need the total rent, which is equals to the per day rent and the number of days. Now this we'll have to calculate through a formula. What we'll do is we'll go to formula right here, total rent, and in this we have to get the number of booking days, which is booking date this multiplied by, let's see if we have some formula for this or not. Okay, we'll directly multiply it using star sign. And the second part is selected car detail, then the first element, and then the per day rent per day base. Sorry. Again, this is going to be in this format, and we need to configure this field or map this field to the total rent. All right, we can make it a bit spacious so that we can read it easily. Go to fields, total rent with total rent. So when you create a formula in input JSON, you can directly refer it, and we can preview it like this. Need input, execute. Let's see if there are any errors. Required fields are missing. That is contact_C. Okay, because contact is not created yet, I'll provide it a default value for now, and then we'll configure it later on. I'll give it the contact that we just created. This one, I'll copy the ID for this. I hope I'm not making it a bit complicated. I'm just fixing it so that every rental record gets connected to this only. Execute it. Now this time a new record got created. We'll make that contact dynamic as well in a while. We just want to see if everything is popping up right and record is getting created and calculation is being done correctly. So our per day rent was 40,000, I guess. Yeah, and the booking days were 2, so it got calculated to 80,000, which is correct. So everything looks fine up till now. Now what we can do is we can make the contact dynamic as well. For that we need to go to our integration procedure. In this, let's configure this as well. So this will be an additional detail to it apart from what it needs. Basically, apart from what we are getting from the OmniScript, this new contact ID is additional detail which will pass. In fact, we are going to pass everything as an additional detail in this case because we need multiple nodes, and like we configured there this way, that is, it needs one booking date, one node, and the other node is selected car details, which is equals to what we have in here. An additional detail will be the contact. Let's see if the contact is getting created. We can deactivate it and test it once. And we are only passing the renter details, which is fine, and we already configured the DataRaptor. Now hit execute. And it says use one of the records. So maybe there are multiple records with similar to this, or duplicate rule is working. Let's change the details in this. Let's update this. Execute. No error this time, and we'll see what is the response from contact. So it's giving the node contact 1, and in that we are getting an array where there is only one object, and we have ID of this contact which is newly created. We can verify that as well. So new contact is created. Now we need to use this output in the next DataRaptor. It will be like this. So we need to pass additional contact. It will be contact and then 1 and the ID. And we need to give the DataRaptor as well, where we are getting this output. And this contact which we earlier gave static values to will update that field as well. Now in addition to save contact, we were talking about the record. Yeah. So in the contact we have given the default value. We can remove it now and configure with the contact node, which will be additional to this, something like this, and some text. So structure will be something like this, and we want to map this contact to the contact field of the rental object. Now everything is configured in the integration procedure. We can close all of these and we can configure save rental record here as well. And in response, we can see, give something like success or something. We'll pass the success in additional response as true, or we need to actually redirect the user to the newly created rental record. So let's give the record ID instead of this rental record ID and contact ID as well, just to have it in the OmniScript. For this, the contact ID, we already have it here. We can directly copy from here and paste it in here. And for the rental record, we need to figure out how we are getting the response. So we'll execute it once again. And in order to do that, we'll have to update a few things here and there. First is the name of this, otherwise we'll get duplicate related error. And hit execute. It says car is required. All right. So basically this save rental in here, selected car was required. I guess we have already passed it. Okay. So we have this old JSON. We need to get a new one. Like after updated it with the ID of the car, we need to give that as well. So we'll preview it once again. Copy the whole thing, go into rental, paste in input parameters, and this time it will create the records. We haven't configured the rental record ID, but we can get it from here. This is the response. So the response looks like rental underscore underscore C underscore 1, and then we have the ID of this. We'll configure this in the output, similar to what we configured for contact. And we need to give the name of this DataRaptor element as well. Now everything looks fine. This data will be getting on the OmniScript as well. Now we can activate this. Okay, this is now activated. We can directly use it in the OmniScript. We need to have an integration procedure field, element to this. We'll use the rental save records integration procedure. And we need to pass the required information, that is the rental details as rental details only. Extra payload this, and we're only going to pass the extra payload only. Apart from this, we need booking date as well. We're not going to rename them, so that's why we're sending it with the same name. and the other part was selected car. I guess these are the only things that we needed, and this will do our job. And at the last, we are going to add a navigation action, and this navigation action will redirect us to a page. We need to give the object API, which is rental. Rather copy it instead of typing it. We need to view the record, and this is going to be the record ID, which we are getting as rental record ID. So we'll paste this here instead of this. We want to redirect to this page, that is rental record ID. And now we'll preview it once again. In preview mode, we will not be redirected to anywhere, but in our upcoming lectures, when we will be adding this to a specific page and allow the user to complete the flow from Salesforce rather than doing it in preview mode, at that time this will work. But prior to this, it should be creating contact and the rental information. And we can see the action debugger as well. This confirms everything that we have given is looking fine, coming up correctly. In rental record, we are getting the rental record ID and the contact ID, so it looks perfect. I hope you're liking this videos. Please like, share and subscribe, and in the next lecture I'm going to add this OmniScript on a page and we'll do a lot more stuff. Thanks for watching.